So they recorded, so I can only upload it after the session is ended, and then it's going to take some time to process and upload it to YouTube and then have a link in Canvas. But
just so you know, it did notify me when you started recording, and it told me to either leave or continue. So
yeah, I did set that on in my Zoom settings so that you actually have an option to consent, so which is good to know. I was actually wondering if there's more on that. All right, welcome all of you. Let me share my screen.
And then there's just Katie, just very eager to look at the things.
I'm in such a chaotic mood, it's bad.
The first thing that I want to show you is the updated syllabus. Obviously, it's posted on Canvas. Can you guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me bring the zoom down so you can read it.
Wow, the quality on this screen recording is really good.
Yeah. It's extremely good. I actually want to scroll on it.
All right, so the quality is good. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like surprisingly.
all right, so I'm learning too. So please bear with me. This is new for everybody, right? So connecting remotely. All right, so this is just saying we are starting remote learning from basically as of this date. And then I plan to hold the meeting synchronously, which means same time during our class time. So if I cannot, then I'll actually notify you via email before the class starts, okay? And then this is what I have it here. The sessions are also recorded for future review. So if you're not sure, so that's the, Chris, is this enough or you want me to change the wordings a little bit?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What?
So I have this one written here. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
So will that be enough? I think I'm also giving you guys to consent, so that should be okay.
Yeah, as long as it's written down in the syllabus in like bold print, so like it's clear.
Okay.
If people don't read the syllabus, that's their own fault at that point.
I think maybe I would make the language say by participating in Zoom you are consenting to being recorded, but totally up to you. I can see if Gail can forward that along, whatever language that she was going to include to people. So I can reach out to her and see if she can get to that.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
No
so
problem.
we will be using mostly Canvas and MindTap, and obviously I encourage you to check your emails for updates. So to connect to the class, this is the link provided, and you can also meet me during my office hours using this link, same link. I am available during those days and times, okay? And this is posted. Come back to Canvas.
Oh, this chair is so comfortable.
All right, so this is the updated syllabus. I would like you to read through. So basically the changes are only listed in the first page. From second page onwards is the same thing that I had before. So, all right, so I created an online survey just to understand how you guys are feeling with respect to online teaching and with respect to the technology and the internet access, all that. I would like you to complete that at home. Like do that and look at the results later. So
cool.
Yeah. So I know I assigned it as a homework, but I would like to, not everybody were able to do it, including me. So we're gonna do tutorial 11 today for Tuesday, and then tutorial 13 for Thursday class, okay? And tutorial 12, I already recorded a session for you guys to follow along and finish up the project, okay? So I'm trying to do that for future homeworks and all to help you guys, start rather than you figuring it out yourself, right? So, so watch this. There are two videos to this. Once, when I did this project, the project did not work. So I stopped that session and then I fixed what the problem was and then I recorded again. So once you follow along with me as I do the project regarding this T12, there were three things that you need to make after you finish the project, right? So that it's a two videos, it's a video, playlist that has two videos in it. Watch both of them. And if you still have issues, I need to know, all right? Send me email regarding that. So I heard some questions regarding T9 and T10. So I'll see. I know I'm meeting with Justin after today's class to help him. But if you need help, do let me know. Okay, we can work together. So know that I'm here. I want you to succeed. So please reach out to me. So I'll do whatever needed to help you succeed.
Hey, Justin, can I hop in on that meeting with you to do the T10 thing?
Yeah, if you want, I don't mind.
Yeah. So all of you, if you want to join that meeting, it's
Oh,
At 2:30.
at 2:30. If you're available.
Okay. I have all the ones done. It's just for some reason that they're just not linking the JavaScript files, it seems like.
That's
did
fine.
you use
Some of
script
them were.
source?
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's regarding T9 and T10. So if you guys have any issues, you can meet me at 2:30 today, and then we can go from that. I'll also try to see if I can record the session and post it. If you cannot make it, we just have
Yeah.
a solution there.
Me and Tyra
Just
will make
realized
the meeting.
Yeah, I just realized I had a Manish after this class.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's possible. It's okay. I'll record the session.
Just put headphones in and have two at once.
I actually thought about it. I got the AirPods in for one thing, and I'll have Manish up on my other monitor right here.
Don't worry, I'll distract him.
Hey, there's Kevin.
Hi. All right,
Hey, Kevin.
guys. Can we begin?
Nice bed frame.
All right. So
Kevin can't hear us yet.
all right, let's begin. So we're looking at any questions so far? You guys know what is expectation? So with respect to expectation and the grading, nothing has changed. But if you need more time, I can definitely accommodate that. If you need more help, I can definitely meet you guys to get the work done. Okay. So with that, let's begin T11. So I know we are 1 week behind the schedule. Let's see how far we go. Next week, I want to start PHP. So this week is going to be JavaScript. T11 is about events, and T13 is about how to include JavaScript in the web form with the mouse activities and all. All right. So let's begin with T11. So I'm going to give you a brief description about what's involved in this chapter, and then we'll begin with the project. Okay. So what are events? So in this chapter, we're going to look into, so events is basically on a web page, users are interacting with the web page. So if you have a web page where users are expected to click on buttons, right? Click on navigation, you want browser to do something. So that's what we are learning in this chapter, which means, I don't know how full screen works here. Let me see if I can do a slideshow.
Yeah, that will just make your screen full. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Or I can just do this. Increase the zoom. Can you guys see okay? All right, so we're going to look into what are events, how to handle them using JavaScript. All right. So we're going to look at what are these. So we have mouse events and keyboard events. So we're going to look into them. So basically, it's making your web page more interactive. When users interact with your web page, we are using a JavaScript to do something. That's the idea. All right. So JavaScript events. What is this? These are the programs that run in response to events. Events could be using basically button clicks, or mouse events, or keyboard events. So we have two types of events that happens on a browser. So we also have the third one, touch. This is only available when users use a touch-enabled device, right? So what is an event? Action initiated by the user. So we are going to write JavaScript code that only gets executed when user clicks on or do something, or we can ask it to execute it when the page loads. So we do need to do some initialization functions. Those need to be executed when the page loads. So the second or the last category is basically whenever user interact with it, we want browser to execute a piece of JavaScript code. So clicking an object is an event. Closing a web page is an event. So mouse up, mouse down, mouse scroll, all these are the events that happens on a web page. So when that happens, sometimes we need to code it. We need a dynamic code that gets executed and run only when the events occur, right? So JavaScript events can be used to build like a puzzles, right? So you guys might play puzzles online, like Sudoku, right? And this is a puzzle that we're gonna work on in this chapter project. Have you guys worked with this puzzle? Do you guys know what that is? Can anyone pronounce this? Hanji puzzle, right?
The Hanji?
Hanji?
Hanji puzzle.
Hanjie. Hanjie.
Hanji. Okay. So
Oh, I couldn't see
basically,
the E. Your guys' beautiful monks were covering it.
okay. So basically, when you're working with a puzzle, you're actually interacting with a web page, right? So when you click on something, something happens. How does browser know? So there is a programming that's happening behind the scenes, and we can do that client-side programming using JavaScript. So that's what we're going to learn today. So to give you an example, so this is the project that we're going to work on anyway. So we will have, this is an example where we have puzzle 1, puzzle 2, puzzle 3, right? And each puzzle can have its own grid, and we can actually bring this puzzle loaded with some numbers to begin with, and then when users interact with that, it actually changes its background color, changes its font color, fill color, all of that. So we can also do a styling to identify the user interaction too. So whenever event occurs, how do we capture that in JavaScript? So we need to create what's called as event handler. Okay. So event handler is a property that controls how object responds to an event, right? So event handler waits until an event occurs, and then it only executes when that event occurs, right? Obviously, we got to code it in such a way the code that you're writing in a JavaScript gets executed when an event occurs. So event handler waits until the event occurs and then responds by running a function or a command, right? Obviously, we're going to write functions when an event occurs. So here is how we can do that. So we have a tag on event occur. You want the script to run, right? So event handler can be added to a page element using the following attribute. So on event, we can actually do this in HTML. If you want to do it in HTML, we're going to use on event attribute, and then we associate a JavaScript function that gets executed when that event occurs, right? And we have properties and objects that goes with the events, and we're gonna learn them. We cannot focus on all of them, but these are some of the examples of event handlers. So on copy, on cut, on error, on load. So this is the on load property that we're going to use when we want a function to run when a page loads, right? Likewise, we also have other events. So depending on what we want, we can actually call it. So here is an example where we are doing window.onload. You're actually calling a function called as init. And this is a function that's actually setting up the puzzle interface, right? So get element by ID, and so again we'll work on this project in a few minutes. So here is the interface. So basically this is a web page, puzzle 1, puzzle 2, puzzle 3. When a page loads, puzzle 1 is displayed. Obviously you just can click on puzzle 2, puzzle 3. But when they click on it, we need to give a warning that they're actually starting up a new puzzle, right? So and then this grid is also created using HTML. And when you work with this grid, that's when the JavaScript code gets executed, right? So we're going to obviously code that. So we can actually add event handler to the buttons as well, okay? And when we do that, when we have a button, we actually going to use on click property. And then we can actually ask it to call a function, JavaScript function in there. So here is an example where you are calling on click property. So when user clicks on a button, you're actually calling a function called as swap puzzles function. Okay. Creating an event handler challenge is basically when you have more than one event happening, how do we determine which event or which button users has been clicked, right? So when you have multiple buttons, users may click on more than one, but I mean, they can click on many buttons, but we need to figure out which button has been clicked, and accordingly, we can code it. So for that, we're going to use onClick event, and then to see whether which button is clicked, and then accordingly, we can write the code in there. So event handling, the events has got its own built-in properties and methods that we can use to work with it. So it basically means which mouse button has been clicked, where in the page has been clicked, at what time has been clicked. So these three information actually can be obtained by calling up built-in functions that comes with the JavaScript. Okay. So, and we need to know that, right? Which button has been clicked, where in the page it's been clicked, and then at what time was the button was clicked. So these events, we need to pass it as a parameter to our JavaScript functions. Okay, so this is the parameter. So we need to capture that information, and accordingly, we need to pass that as a parameter to a function for future processing, right? So here are another events, basically the built-in properties that we can use that
Ooh,
go
Chris lost audio.
Huh?
Chris lost audio.
Say that again?
Chris can't hear
It's all right.
anymore.
I think it's just the Wi-Fi. It had like a
Alright.
drop signal for a second.
Oh,
We're back.
oh yeah, I forgot to
Continuing.
tell you guys. Let me pause here, and you guys can chat with me, right? Yeah, if you have any issues. You can also raise hand. You guys know how to do that. I'll let you figure it out. All right, so know that there are built-in events that we can work with whenever events occur on our web page, and obviously we can go through that. And we're gonna write all of these, so we can capture these events in an array, and then we can actually pass in the target value and then create the events accordingly. What else we have in here? So when it comes to properties and method calling, we're gonna use camel casing. So which is basically first word will be lowercase, and the second word and third word, first letter will be uppercase. So camel casing notation we use for all our variables names and method names in JavaScript. I think you can also do styling, obviously CSS from within JavaScript. We can go through that. So I think that's all I have. I'm not going to go through all the desks. So let's begin with the project and come back to your canvas. So we'll walk through how to implement event handling in JavaScript. So let us begin with T11 case review problem. There is also a video. You can watch it on your own time.
You want T11 case problem review?
Correct.
Bro, if I could do all my coding from right here, great.
What's up, Tyler? What did you say?
Oh, I said if I could do all my coding from right here, it'd be much happier. Oh, two monitors. No.
Okay, so let us take some time to understand the problem. I know we are doing puzzle, but right now when you run the code, let me open in a new tab. So this is the interface given to you, right? And this code is already there. You can take a look. So basically, if you click on home, store, hence, they don't go anywhere. But if you click on puzzle 1, so once you finish the project, so this is how the interface should look like. You see? So if you click on puzzle 1, then it should display like this. So what you see here is this puzzle has numbers laid out horizontally and vertically, like in rows and columns. So the idea is in one single row, you cannot have same number repeated. Basically, we need to have unique numbers across the rows, unique numbers across the columns. So let's take a look at this column here, right? 4 and 4, that's a duplicate. So we want to delete 1 and keep the other. So that's the interface that we are creating. So some of them have circles and some of them have squares, right? And we need to have a check solution button, show solution button, and then they can navigate to puzzle 2, puzzle 3, and it basically brings up its own interface, right? Once we finish, that's how we need to go. So obviously to play, we have click the puzzle 1 through puzzle 3 buttons to select the puzzle. So the events that we are looking at is button events. When you click on these 3 buttons, we're going to call up different JavaScript function. And then when you click on check solution, obviously it's going to call another function. So solution, there's another JavaScript function that gets executed when you click on these buttons. So that's the event handling that we are looking into, right? Let's come back to the interface. So let's read the instructions. Rebecca has asked for your help with another puzzle again. This page involves solving the Hitori puzzles. This puzzle is played on a grid of numbers. Each number is either circled or darkened. The darkened cell is referred to as a block. Okay, so the circle one is not a block. So a successful solution will meet the criteria. So every puzzle has its own rules that we need to follow in order to win the puzzle, right? So these are the rules for Hitori puzzles. The same number cannot be circled more than once in a row or a column. What does that mean? So the same number cannot be circled in a row or a column. So that means we cannot have same number twice. So take a look at here. Let's look at row 1. The first number is 1, second number is 3, 4, 2, 3. Do you see any duplicates?
Yeah.
Which is what?
3.
3, right? So when we have 3 duplicates, we need to eliminate 1. So the rectangle one is the one that we want to get rid of. Okay? Because we want to keep this 3, because 3, if I get rid of this 3 here on a row, 3 is the unique. On a column, 3 is unique too, right?
So because 3 is in a square, it actually doesn't count for the repeating rule.
Yes, that's when you make it as a square, we are actually telling the browser that this 3 should not be here, right? That means you are blocking it. That's a rule that I understand. You guys know more than me probably with these games. So in this row, if you look at it, so we have 1, 1, right? We have 3 ones. So we can only have 1, 1. So we want to eliminate the 2 2's here. We need to determine which one to eliminate. So the idea here is the same number cannot be circled more than once in any row or column. Blocks cannot touch horizontally or vertically. So when you have it as a block, that's actually dark. The block color is a dark one, and we want to block that block there. Blocks cannot touch horizontally or vertically, though they may be placed diagonally to one another. Circled numbers must complete a continuous path through the grid. No circle number or a group of circles numbers can be isolated from the others by a line of blocks. Okay. So the image shows a preview of this page. The solution for the sample puzzle is also given in here. So you want to create an interface for this puzzle similar to the one you created. We haven't created it. So basically we have that interface there. We can take a look at it. So in here, what we have a block image, basically this, circle image, this. And then we have an eraser. And then we have a JavaScript for the grid. Okay, this is the JavaScript that's loaded. And as you can see, these are the numbers that are displaying in the interface. Do you see that? 1, 3, 4, 2, 3. So that's there. It's created as an array. So for row 1, so all these numbers are initiated here to begin with. And then we have blocks. Now we have comma and then pound sign to indicate different blocks here. So as you can see, so we have a space, comma. So basically for the circle, we are leaving it a space. And then for block, we are actually putting it a pound sign there. So all the pound signs are the locations that have square blocks in there, you see. So this is the initial setup. And then we have ratings. So basically we have a Itori, 2 numbers here, another set, another block, and then our third. So I think this is for the third puzzle. When you load it up, you're gonna load these numbers, and these are the blocked locations of those numbers. You see that? So this is for puzzle 1. So ratings is easy, and then this array is the array for puzzle 1 for the numbers. This array is the what we want to block for your puzzle 1. So rating 2 is basically rating, numbers, and block. This is for your puzzle 2. And then these 3 are basically for your puzzle 3, right? Basically different levels. So puzzle 3 is the harder level, puzzle 2 is a medium level, and then the first one is the easy one. So these gets loaded, and this is a grid, right? These gets loaded. And obviously these are the numbers, and how can we, so all those background color, and these are the images that we are putting for each numbers in there. And then we obviously have a background color for the grid, and that means we have CSS. So let's explore our CSS here. So as you see, the grid, we are actually making a background color. And as you see the background color here, the orange, that's what getting displayed here as a background color for the grid. That goes behind the numbers here. And we are putting a border, and we are making it collapse so we don't see the spaces there. And obviously we have a box shadow there for our grid. You see the shadow behind the grid here. So that's a CSS part. And then this is for the caption. And then this is for all the TDs, okay? So those cell, basically for circle and the blocks, we have a CSS here that's listed. I can just scroll down. Let me see.
Hey Justin, I'm having the same problem with you. Like, it's not linking the Java files.
On the T10 or T9, T10.
Right here, and this one too. It's not linking my Java files.
Really? Did you do it asynchrononymously?
Yeah.
All right, so we're not done in the steps yet. Let's understand the code, and then we can begin with the steps, all right? So you want to know what's exist in here. So in the HTML, so we have one HTML, and then these are JavaScript files, and then we have a reset CSS and style CSS. So it's important to understand the HTML what we have. So we already have a CSS links here that are linking to reset and styles. And then this is a section where we have top buttons. So these are the buttons, puzzle 1, puzzle 2, puzzle 3. So as you can see, input type button. So we have a class and then ID name for these two. So we can work with CSS and other things when we highlight them. And then we have a puzzle heading here. Content is nothing. We're gonna retry that using JavaScript. And then we have a figure here. Again, figure tag. Content is nothing yet. And then at the bottom, we also button 2 buttons for check solution and show solution. So top buttons are these 3, and then these 2 are the bottom buttons, check solution and show solution, right? And then we have a aside here on the right side to play rules. And then we have about and then tips here, as you can tell. And obviously this is my footer with all the navigation menus. Understood the HTML? Yes?
Yeah.
So we understood what those variables and arrays are, right? So we have we already have some JavaScript function written to us. Let's explore them. So in here, we have a startup function, switch puzzle function, setup puzzle function, find errors function. So then we already have a built-in check solution, and then draw Hitori. It takes in the numbers, blocks, and rating that you defined in the grid3.js, and we are passing those as a parameter to draw Hitori. When we call it, that's when the grid gets drawn here using a for loop. Okay, and obviously, as you can tell, this is the HTML code getting generated from within JavaScript function. Let me repeat that. HTML code, you are generating it by calling in JavaScript function here. So we're going to actually, these table ratings, the caption, everything is generated from within JavaScript. They only get executed when you call this draw Hitori function. And obviously we have show solution function here and check solution function here. Okay. So what we want to do now here is we want to actually write these functions. So startup function runs when the page is loaded and displays the puzzle one, and loads the event handler for the web page to handle the events that occur on a puzzle one. And then setup puzzle basically sets up a new puzzle, adding a new event handlers, right? Switch puzzle, when you go from click between different buttons there. Find errors, we're gonna code these three functions, but these three are already being given to us, right? All right, let's begin. So the first step we wanna do is document setup. So we wanna open the HTML file. So I'm gonna close all of these. So this is the logo.png. All right, so in the head section, we wanna include, we already have a links to CSS files. We wanna include our 2 JavaScript files that we have. So that's easy, right? So we're gonna use script tag, open, close. And then the attribute that we want is src. That always goes in the start of a script tag, and then follows by the value for this src attribute will be the file name of your JavaScript. So let us include our first JavaScript, and we explore what's in there, right? So initial arrays, that actually helps us generate the grids of these puzzles. And then this JavaScript file has the functions, right? So
that.
and we want to load them both asynchronously. Asynchronously means as and when JavaScript file is available, it's gonna run and execute it. That means when event occurs, then it's gonna call these functions in there as and when needed. So we're gonna make that in a minute. So we're gonna use async keyword to make it asynchronously.
That's what I need.
So here we're gonna do, so async is a keyword to make this JavaScript. Okay. So src, obviously I have a typing error here. That's a source. Right? Spelling. So JS, and then that's how we make this thing. So no more.
Who's got the puppies?
That's my sister's dog.
You may want to mute your microphones so we don't hear background noise. It's not giving anything. Where is W3 scores? So async attribute is a Boolean attribute. When present, it specifies that the script will be executed asynchronously as soon as it is available. That's the meaning. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
So let's come back here. So do your checks.
It works. Oh, you're just missing the CSS link file on yours.
Say that again.
You're missing the JPF Hittery .css style sheet link.
Did I miss a step?
Yeah, no, you had it. It's right before the two JavaScript files. The CSS file you need to add.
I need to add the CSS file. Okay.
Yep. And then it works perfectly fine. Link's only a one-sided tag.
I can actually copy paste it in the file then. So I want to link it to the Hittery CSS file. All right. All right. So coming back to functions. So we will want to do these in this JavaScript file. So let's open that. Directly below the comment section, declare a global variable. So which basically goes right here. So how do you declare variable in JavaScript? Var keyword. So all cells. Like that. We are not assigning any values, but just declare a variable. So we're going to use this variable later to hold array of cells. Okay.
Don't forget to do the check mark for this. That's all it's asking for the first one.
Say that again.
The check mark at the bottom of the scrolling.
This one? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right after
Yeah.
this. All right. So
Yeah, that way, like, we don't like add a value to it and then it doesn't accept it later.
good point. All right. So next, let's construct our. So insert a command to run startup function. Now this is a definition. All right. How do we call this function? We just call it with function name like that. Without the function keyword, that's how we call the function. If a function takes in any parameter, those goes there, right?
Insert a command to run the startup function.
So function definition begins with the function keyword, function name, open curly brace, close curly brace. And obviously your code goes in here, right? So that's the function definition. When we call it, that's when the browser will run or execute the function that you defined here. So this is a function definition. This is a function call. You got to call a function, otherwise browser will not know when to execute your function. So when you call it, we just call it with the function name. And if a function returns a value, we need a variable on the left side to hold the value. In this case, we don't have a return keyword here. So we just call it with the function name. So you want to call it, but when page loads. So this is done by using Windows. So we can actually call it when the page loads there, right? So every browser has built-in object called as window. So we're going to use window dot. We're going to use onload event. Since we want to call this function when a page loads, we're going to use onload event. So onload, window dot onload is a property that gets loaded. So basically we're just telling it to call this function when, when a page loads, right? So that's how you tell the browser to execute this function when page loads, okay? So insert a command that function when a page is loaded by the browser, add this function which display the content of puzzle 1 after the page is loaded. Set up the initial event handler, and then within the function, add the following commands. So this is a function call, right? Startup. And then this is a function definition. So basically we're calling it before we define, but that's okay. So in here, we're gonna actually load. So when the page loads, we wanna load the puzzle 1, right? So let us define that. So think of this as the initial function that gets run. And then here, write the first puzzle data into the web page. That's what this code will be doing. So write the first puzzle. So when the page loads, this is a function that gets called, and control will come here to this function, execute the code that's in there. So the first thing that we want to do here is we have a place for puzzle 1. So you want to select that ID. Okay, so inside the body, so these are your home tabs, and then we have a button. So we have a place for puzzle 1. So we want to actually get the ID. So do we have an ID called as puzzle? So actually we want to actually get the element ID. So we have puzzle title here, right? So we want to retry the puzzle 1. So we want to set the puzzle 1 here to first. So basically when the page loads, we want to call this function. In this function, the first thing that we want to do here is to display the heading called as puzzle 1. And then below that, we want to generate this screen, right? So let's make that one work. So how do we get that heading 1? So we're going to call document.getElement spelling get element by ID, and then what's the ID name that I want to refer to is this one, heading 1, right? So this is my ID, puzzle title. Okay.
ID.
And then to this, we're going to add, basically we're generating the content here to display. So we're going to call it inner HTML property. And then we're going to assign the value puzzle 1 there. Okay. So we're just asking, so let us run this code, this file so far to see whether we get. This. So this is basically you need to come up when the page loads. Let's see if we get that. So, nothing yet, right? So let's check the code again.
I got nothing.
Document. So I always make this mistake. I spelled document wrong for some reason. Get element by ID.
Still nothing.
That's
Even when
okay.
you had it
Want to
right.
bind this event also to the page. So if it does not come out, don't worry. So I got it. See there? Puzzle 1.
Oh.
But I had spelling error. So I had the document spelled incorrectly. So it should give you H1 there. Basically,
Get
we
elements.
are actually generating this title, the content of this H1 tag from within the JavaScript. So document.getElement by ID, and this is the ID. At that ID, you're actually assigning a value there. Okay.
I
Inner
don't
HTML.
seem to have it. It doesn't say puzzle 1 for me.
Equals.
Check.
She has a space between. That doesn't seem to.
Okay, Justin, share your screen with me.
Sure.
Yeah, I can't share mine.
Mine works just fine. I can copy and paste what I have into the chat.
Okay, do it.
Katie, just screen share it.
No, because someone else is already screen sharing, so you can't screen share someone.
I am doing it. I'm doing the screen share, right? So.
That's exactly what I had between, in the function startup parentheses, just like
Check your spelling.
Dr. Shree has.
Check your spelling. Check your spelling. That could be the only reason why it's not working.
Yeah, no, because mine got the check mark and it's working just fine.
We're not done it, right? So that's the title. We got that one. And then in here, we want to call draw hitori function with these
Document
variables
get.
as a parameter.
No,
Now,
I
who
still
wrote,
don't get it.
we already have draw Itorian function that's written here. And then it takes
Is it?
in,
No.
it takes in 3 parameters, numbers, blocks, and rating. Now, I am not defining these variables in this particular JavaScript. We already have grid3.js. These variables are already defined here. We're gonna call them, right? We're gonna use those variables here to bring it up. So when we call, come back here to our startup puzzle. So let us display our puzzle here. So display first puzzle. This is the comment, and then let us display it. So again, document dot get element by ID. So where we want to display is we already have an ID called as puzzle here, right? So we already have an ID here. Like basically, we are actually referring it here in the figure. So we want to display it right here. Okay. So we want to get this ID name here. Put it into get element by ID. In that place, we want to display our grid. So on that ID, and again inner HTML method equal to this time here on the right side, instead of assigning a string value here, I'm gonna call a draw Boolean function. So, but when I call this function, I need to pass in the values variables that are. So the parameters, 3 parameters are these. So for a first puzzle, I'm going to pass in numbers first. So this variable. And then followed by blocks. And lastly, the ratings.
I'm still having trouble getting it to work.
Yeah, mine still isn't working either.
Yeah, and I have exactly what you have.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me finish this step and then I'll come back to you guys. Ratings for 1 is right here. So basically, since I already have a predefined values here for these variables, now the first variable, this is a string, but then these 2 are arrays. This array has numbers, this array has the blocks there, right? So we're going to pass in these 3 variables as the initial values to display the puzzle. Got it? So now I'm going to run it again. So we want to check the spelling. Is my document correct? Document.get element by ID. Again, by ID spelled wrong. So there you go. Look at that, guys. Cool. Now, in the JavaScript, I have only these numbers. How did I get these CSS? That's basically using the CSS grid for here, right? So it's using the CSS, this grid to come up with those section there. All right, let's see. I'm gonna pause now. So if you guys have any, if you so far you didn't.
Could you scroll back up, please?
Yeah.
Did you guys link your stuff correctly?
Do you guys have that leading space in the word puzzle space 1? It won't work without that leading space.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys?
I don't have a leading space and it works fine for me.
All right.
I
So
couldn't get it to work
who
until I
has
added
issues
space.
so far?
I
How
put a
many?
leading space in.
Justin and Tyler, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop my sharing my screen. Can you share it? So we'll just take a look.
Justin can because mine's on a different computer, so I can't screen share to here because I'm using my Mac as my like screen share right now.
Oh, okay.
This is Justin's
All right.
Well,
document. Yeah. Document.get element by ID puzzle
Oh,
title.
you have a
document.
space here after dot. You need to.
Yeah.
I don't.
Right before the dot. Yeah.
Yeah, delete that. Yeah.
hold on, let's see.
And then you're missing one parameter for your draw historian puzzle function call. Add the historian rating.
Oh yeah, I'm still doing that.
Okay.
And you have numbers twice. I'm assuming you were copying and pasting.
No, I just wasn't paying attention. That's supposed to be blocks.
You can copy paste it and then end with semicolon, please.
Where'd you pull all the history blocks and all that stuff from?
From grid3.js file.
How does my HTML look?
Let me see.
Because it gave me a check for it.
Yeah, looks okay. Oh, grid3. Spelling error. Is the file name correct? Is the file name
Grids
correct? Check.
Is it grid?
He's missing an S. Yeah, he's missing an S. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I had an S.
All right.
Yeah.
So basically, these variables are coming from that JavaScript file, grids3.js file. You still don't have it?
No.
So go back to your JS file again. Window.onload. Oh, you are very function name spelled wrong. Startup.
yeah. Uppercase U.
Uppercase U.
Where?
Line 50.
Oh, and
Yeah.
50.
Startup.
Oh, it's supposed to be an uppercase U?
Yeah, because look at line 52. Look at line 52.
Got it.
What's the name? The function name should always match. Okay.
There's my problem. Thank you.
Yeah. So because when you're defining the function at line 52, the function name is start up with uppercase U. When you call it, the function name should always match. Otherwise, browser will not know which function to call. And then you may need to check the spelling for your draw history function, and then check the variable names also. Let me share my screen so you can match. Can you stop sharing yours, Justin?
Yep.
Thank you. I was missing that uppercase U on mine.
So check the spelling here, and then these variable names should also match, and you got to have a semicolon at the end.
Okay, so you need rating there? Okay.
Yes, so the order should be different. So first you got to pass in this variable, numbers, and then comma, your blocks variable, comma, ratings. So this is from grid3.js. You can copy paste it if you.
H1 rating.
Yeah, if you miss the spelling, I did copy paste and it's working fine. Because when we type it, we always miss these spelling. So, all right, so let's continue.
Spelled the same way and it's not working though.
It's not working for whom? Then check the spellings for your JavaScript files and
did
see
that
the files
too.
here.
I double checked that too.
You did?
I also have other steps in place because I started this yesterday, so
Oh, okay.
I'll wait.
All right.
I just want to see the JavaScript file.
Let's add event handlers. So far, good. All right. So
Document dot get element ID puzzle. HTML equals try.
So let us add event handlers to our puzzle buttons. That means when we click on it, we want it to display. And obviously there's a place for it.
What does your display right now?
Mine,
Yeah.
I have
wanna
like
see.
this.
Okay, yeah, so mine does not display the puzzle.
It does not display puzzle 1, or it does not display the grid.
It does not display the grid.
Okay. Is the function name correct?
Document.get element by ID, open parenthesis, quotation,
correct?
puzzle.
Is this correct? Check it.
Yes. Yeah.
Is the function name correct?
HITOR. Yes.
And the variable names? Do you have a semicolon at the end?
Yeah, I copy pasted those.
Okay.
And I have a semicolon at the end of
Scroll
mine.
down. See if you have this function. Or accidentally you didn't delete anything.
No, I didn't build anything down here.
At line 177. You have this one, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have everything there.
All right, let's continue.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll figure it
So
out.
this one is correct. Spelled. Line 57. Check the spelling correctly and then try to run it and then reload it, see if it comes up. And you cannot have
All right,
spaces.
Justin, that worked.
Huh?
Justin, help me out real quick. It worked.
It worked? Okay.
Whatever Justin helped me out with, he got it working for me.
Thank Katie for that one.
Thank you, Katie.
All right. So let us add here for the buttons. So we're going to have a variable called as puzzle buttons. Let us declare a variable. And then to this, we're going to get, so there's a class called as puzzles. So in our HTML, we want to get that class. So notice here. So all these three buttons have one single class name called as puzzles. And then IDs are different ones. But we want to get this class name by ID. And then we're going to pass in those three buttons to a for loop to switch it. So basically, users are only allowed to switch between three buttons. So we're actually going to grab these buttons here by calling document.getElement by class name. So I'm just going to copy the first part so I don't do spelling mistakes. So get element by class name. So you got to uppercase, lowercase, lowercase like that. And then I'm going to pass in puzzles as the class name.
It should be elements, I think.
Yes, you're right. Elements. Because we are getting more than one. So this is just a one ID. So since we have three here, so it's going to grab puzzle 1, puzzle 2, puzzle 3. Okay. And put it into this variable. And then we're going to look through this variable. And based on the value, if I click on puzzle 1, then the control should actually load up puzzle 1. If I click on puzzle 2, basically puzzle 3 like that, right? So this variable will have the values here. So let us have a for loop that goes from 0 all the way the length of the buttons that we have, which is 3 buttons. So we're going to go up. I want this for loop to run until the length of these buttons that we collected. So we're going to call puzzle buttons dot length. And then after every iteration, I want it to increment by 1. So, and then obviously in the for loop here, I'm gonna call on-click event. So when the user clicks on it, clicks on these buttons, I want to call switch puzzle function. So this is how we're gonna do. So on the buttons, when I click on button puzzle 1, I want to activate on-click event here equal to. So when that happens, when I click on puzzle 1, take me control to puzzle 1. Otherwise, puzzle 2 like that. So we're going to look at our switch puzzle function here. Okay. So let us look at what's in there. So this loop will run 0 all the way to, because we don't have equal there. So we have only 3 buttons, puzzle 1, puzzle 2, puzzle 3. When that happens, control actually goes to the switch. Do we have that one yet? We haven't coded that one yet, right? So we're gonna code it. Yeah, switch puzzle needs event. So event type is on click event. So we're gonna code this one in a minute. We are calling it, but we haven't defined, we only defined the header, but we haven't defined the body statements of this function. All right, so so far that's how our startup code should look like. So the next step, did we have that? Declare a variable, we did that. Loop through this puzzle, we created a for loop, and then call the setup puzzle function, and that defines the initial appearance of the puzzle. So right after this function here, we're gonna call. So how do we call setup puzzle? Now setup puzzle does not take any parameters, so we'll just call it with the function name. So when we call it, we'll just refer to the function name along with the parameters there. So this is the calling the function. Okay, and then from here is defining a function. So defining a function goes from, oops, spelling. So defining a function must need a function keyword, puzzle name, open curly brace, close curly brace, and then you can have more than one statements there. Okay. So calling a function just happens with a function name here. Obviously, we need to have semicolon, and the semicolon there. So this basically calling a function to set up initial appearance.
Professor,
Yes.
I just got a text from Katie saying that her internet is going to be down until 1:15 just because apparently they're doing work in her area.
Uh-oh. Okay.
But you said you're recording it, so
I am recording. Yeah. So let us add now. So this is the calling a function, and then next.
Also, I hit refresh on my webpage after we did the puzzle buttons, and it got rid of my puzzle.
Yeah, same here.
It's same here, but don't worry,
Okay.
it's gonna come back again.
Okay. Okay, cool. I was worried about that.
Yeah, because we don't have anything coded it, that's why, and we are calling this one. We are calling it, but there's nothing to be doing there, so that's why. All right, so let me take care of this step. Add an event handler to check solution button to run the find error when you click on it. So let us do that. So after calling our setup puzzle, I'm doing step number 5. So this is to add event handler to the show solution button. That's a comment, and so we add that by getting an ID. So we have an ID in the HTML called as solve. Where do we have that? Yeah, right here. Actually, we need solve and check both. So let us add that. So we want to get document.getElement by ID, pass in check, and then we're going to call find errors. Likewise, getElement by ID, solve on click equal to show solution button. So let us call those two functions here. So I'm going to call. I'm going to copy this getElement by ID, so I don't mess with the spelling. And then the ID name that I want to get here is, the first one is the check.
I believe this is all supposed to go inside the startup function, by the way, including the calling setup puzzle.
Yeah, because this all goes, it says all within the function, add the following commands.
You're right. So I'm going to move from 67 all the way 71 here, cut it. And it should go after the for loop, you're right. So we're still doing these steps within that function. Good catch. So I'm gonna do tab here, tab, tab. I think I did the tab there, I think because of the navigation. So we're calling a setup puzzle here, and then we are actually getting this ID. So in this particular place, I wanna, so when that happens, but not when that happens, when somebody clicks on it. So we're gonna call on click event. When that happens, I wanna call check solution is basically, I wanna call find errors function.
Why would you do the setup puzzle? Why would you call that within the function?
Because I want to call it, I want to set up the puzzle, and what's included there, we don't have it yet. Okay.
Okay. And this is all just from the startup of the
startup. Yeah, it is still startup.
What's that symbol next to onClick?
Equals
Equal
sign.
Okay.
So you're gonna call, when that happens, you're gonna call find errors function, and then you're gonna do the same things. This is to check solution. Check solution. And then same thing, I'm gonna copy this. So this is to show solution. Now obviously I have an ID called as solve. I need to get that one here. So get element by ID. When you click on solve, is the spelling correct? SOLVE. Then I want to call show solution function. Check solution, show solution. Okay, so I just want to make sure I have a spelling correctly. So when I call it.
So do you want to do for find error? Do you want to, instead of find error, do you want to put check solution there?
No,
or do you want to keep?
I wanted to call. So when we have help me, then we want to say, we want to call, when you click on this button,
Okay.
help, I need to do that. So check solution, basically, I want to check the numbers that I have and then find the errors that I have it in my solution. So solution is basically display the answer kind of thing.
Okay. Just so you know, errors is plural, not singular.
I'm going to copy paste the function name just so I have correct function name. Okay.
Yeah. All you just need to do is add an S and you're good.
Yeah. All right.
Is click capitalized?
It's an event. So on click, right? Yeah, like that. Oh no, we need to make it lowercase.
Good catch.
Yeah, we can make it. It doesn't matter probably, but let's see.
Yeah.
But in the textbook we have on click as a word. What did I have here? It did it work before? I didn't have on click, right? I just have onload is also on lowercase. So let us change the C to on lowercase. So on click, and on line 63 to change the on click to lowercase. Onload is lowercase, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Those are the property names. Alright. So that's 5 and 6, right? Okay. So let us run it, see what we have so far. That's fine. Is this check? Check? Yeah, implementing startup. This is it, right? Anyone got this check so far?
It gave me
Check.
1.67 out of 10.
So I figured out, because I got the same thing the first time. If part of what's going on, I can't figure out the other half of what's going on, but part of what's going on is that we declared all cells as being an empty variable, but the code that's already put in down below is checking for a length, and it keeps tripping up over that. I just put in =0 and it accepted that for half the things.
Oh, we are checking for a length for the buttons. Not
No, way down below. Scroll all the way down.
Oh, when we call these functions? Yeah, right here. Okay.
Show solution, it's asking for the length. So since there's nothing in it, it can't do that, and that's part of it. The other part, I think mine is having trouble actually using the get element by ID, because that all the things that use that don't work for me, and I've tried a bunch of things.
Oh, we need a space here. Is that what it is?
No, that works fine for me. Once I added a number into the all cells variable, I just did =0, and that one works fine. But the next ones don't, and I don't understand why.
Okay, let's see that. And we don't need to worry yet, because once we finish it, yeah, we're just following the steps here, right? You don't need to worry if MindTap will not give you the checks, but you still want it to work in your laptop. So what I did for my T12 that I recorded, I downloaded all of them and then made it work in my laptop. And then I put it into MindTap, it worked. But don't worry about the checks. So let's continue. Let us run it. So far, I just initialized this to 0. See if that does anything here.
Yeah, when I did that, it gave me 5 out of 10.
So for some reason, when we call a function, it doesn't like a fact that we have parentheses next to it, probably. No, it does say, it does look for parentheses, right?
You're still getting 1 out of 6.
Visual appearance.
You know, she didn't put the 0 like you did.
I have 5 out of 6.
Oh, must be nice.
5 out of 6.
And I don't have the 0.
What the hell?
The only thing I'm not
cheating.
getting,
So
the only thing I'm not getting is the draw Hattori part. I got everything else.
Okay. The call to draw territory? Okay.
I didn't get any check marks for some reason.
All right, let's not worry about the checks. Let's continue. Make this one work, all right? Let us define our next step, which is basically defining our switch puzzle. Include the event object as a parameter, which we have either, and then add the following command. So we want to declare puzzle ID variable equal to ID of the object target. So let us do that. So var puzzle ID equal to e dot target dot id. So that's how you define the target dot id. Again, this is a built-in method. So, and then we want to define this when an event occurs. So we want to actually tell the users basically we want it under an if statement. So we want to tell the audience know that you're actually switching from one puzzle to other. So let's add a prompt here. So this is switch puzzle, right? Yeah. So in JavaScript, we have a function called as confirm. We can actually ask users, I don't know if you have it here or not, JavaScript confirm function. So like this, you can actually display a prompt saying that like this. Let me try this. If I click on this, I actually get a prompt here. You press the button, do you want to continue, yes or no, something like that. So when I click on puzzle 1, when I click on puzzle 2, from puzzle 1 to puzzle 2, I need to actually get that confirmation from the user. And the way we do that is by calling if function. So when I switch, when an event of a switch occurs, you want to actually do it using this. So confirm. So if I say yes, then I want to switch the puzzle. If I say no, then I want to stay on the puzzle 1. Okay, so that's the idea that we are saying. So we're actually gonna call this confirm function in an if statement. The answer for this is true or false. It's a boolean, right? So you will lose all of your work on the puzzle. To let them know that they're actually switching. So and then I ask, do you want to continue? Right? So if the answers to this is true, then I'll change the target from puzzle 1 to puzzle 2. Otherwise, you still stay. So move this variable inside this if statement. Okay? So confirm. So whatever I put in the quotations will be displayed as a message prompt to the user. So when you want to confirm, so if the answer to this question is yes, then we actually change the target value. So again, I want to get the get element by ID and change the title to the puzzle 2. So I'm gonna copy get element by ID here for a minute, and then I do need inner HTML. Okay, and the ID name that I wanna change here is puzzle title. So notice now puzzle title is puzzle 1, but if I change it to puzzle 2, it should display puzzle 2 here, right? So that's what we are trying to implement. So whatever target you clicked on, that target title that I want to display. Target dot value. And obviously I spelled my target wrong. So let me fix that. This is basically getting the ID, whereas this is getting the value. And then here I'm going to have my switch case. Now, remember the selection if else, and switch case. So right now I have 3 cases. So when I click on puzzle 1, it should load up puzzle 1 for me. Otherwise puzzle 2, puzzle 3, like that. So we're going to implement switch case here. So switch is a keyword. So you're going to write them like that. The value that I'm going to pass in is puzzle ID. So if the puzzle ID is puzzle 1, then I want to load puzzle 1 here. So, and the syntax basically goes like this for switch case. And notice here, I'm still doing this inside the if. So you only switch when the answer to that confirm is yes. So in here, I'm going to have 3 cases, all right? So switch case inside this. So I'm going to have case, I'm going to check for if my case is puzzle 1. If that is true, I want to do something. Otherwise, case second 2 is I'm going to look for this puzzle 2, which is basically I'm looking for these IDs here, or basically the IDs that are in here. So I'm going to check for these puzzle 1, puzzle 2, and then grab those values there and then display it. So puzzle 1, if my class basically switch ID, if the ID is puzzle 1, then the value that I want to display as a title will be puzzle 1, like that. So I'm checking for those 3 cases that I have, which means I have 3 puzzles here.
Oh, that's got it.
Okay. So otherwise, you actually break out. So let's define if the case is puzzle 1, then tab, and then here I want to get the element by ID, and then I'm going to call my draw Hitorian to draw the first puzzle, like that. So I want document get element by ID. So I'm gonna copy this function. And then I do need inner HTML. And I'm defining the code for my case puzzle1. So if the get element by ID is puzzle1, then in the place of ID puzzle, I want to update the value of the inner HTML to ask it to draw Hitorian using my first call. I think I have this one here. So I'm going to call this function. Actually, you can copy that entire line on 57, put it in as under case puzzle1, because that's what we want. When the case is puzzle1, we want to draw the first puzzle like that. Okay. I'm gonna actually switch this one into 2 lines so you can see. And then after this, I want to break out of the case and then do the same thing. So for my second case, I'll also do the same thing. So copy this. The only thing that changes here is the parameters that you're passing in for your draw Hitori function. So when I click on puzzle1, draw the first puzzle for me, otherwise draw the puzzle2.
Why would you not include the number next to the parameter puzzle? Like, why would you not do puzzle1 within the parameter there?
Well, I have here figure. I want to display it under figure.
Okay.
But I want to capture the values from here. I have 2 input buttons. This is basically to capture whether I clicked on puzzle1, puzzle2, or puzzle3. Because these are buttons, and then buttons have an ID names, puzzle1, puzzle2, puzzle3.
Okay.
So when I click on puzzle1 button, I want to display the puzzle in this figure.
Okay.
This figure ID is the puzzle. That's the place where in which I want to display the grid. That's the place where I want to draw the puzzle, the grid. Make sense?
Okay.
So
Would you also get rid of the 1 in the draw Hitori, like Hitori1 numbers, Hitori1 blocks for like puzzle2 and puzzle3?
So these are the parameters that I need to draw my first puzzle. So I need 1, 1, 1. So in here I need 2, 2, 2 because 2, 2, 2
Yeah.
different values in there, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
And then you do the
So
same thing, but with 3 for the third one.
Exactly, you got it. So I need to draw my third puzzle when I click on third button. This is the place where I want to draw, whereas this is a button event happening. Okay, 2 things. When I click on puzzle1 button, I want to display in this inside here. Okay, that's what's happening here. So then for my third button, I need to just draw my third puzzle there and then break out of that. So this is basically the code for switching the puzzle when an event occurs. So that means based on what button I click, I'm asking it to draw a different puzzle. Got it? And then lastly, if nothing happens here, we still want to display the first puzzle. Setup puzzle, we still need to do some display of the setup puzzle. We haven't defined it yet, but let us call this one inside, actually after the switch case, but inside the if statement. So this closing is for my function. Okay, let me change that one. So 79102 is basically beginning and closing, and this closing is basically for my if. So I'm gonna put a tab there, and then this curly brace is for my switch case. So if I click
Yeah,
on one, you actually have that navigation. So right after switch, inside the if, I'm gonna actually call initial setup function again here. This is to set up.
you know you can do 2 backspaces for a single line comment, right?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
So you're gonna call setup puzzle, and obviously we haven't defined that yet. We're gonna do that in a minute. We're gonna call this function right here. And make sure you have 2 closing braces here. So this is basically closing of the if and then closing of switch puzzle function. So that's your switch case implementation. And we already did the calling of that. Enclose all of the commands and switch puzzle in an if statement. So that's what we have here. We actually started with the if statement. And then create the setup puzzle function. So to set up the definition. So next question is basically to define this. Do we have checks for this one? So switch puzzle, let's see if that works. I haven't ran it, right? Let's run it and then check.
You get the first one, but you don't get the other 4.
Yeah.
Based off 9.
So it will not work until we finish setup puzzle and find errors. So don't worry. We can check it at the end. So let's continue.
Did you include a thing to change the title? Step 2 there?
Which one? Inside here?
Yeah. There
No.
is step 2 on there said to include one to change the title.
Step 2. Change image demo element ID. So yeah, I have that. This is a changing the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. To change it to the target object. So that is basically assigning a target value to the puzzle title. So that is your step 2 there. Let us finish up the setup puzzle implementation here. Obviously, we have 2 calls for this, probably one here and then one somewhere here. Did we call that? Yeah, we are calling at line 67. And then we are calling at line 103 setup puzzle. We haven't defined that one yet, so let us define. So the first thing that we want to do here is match all of the data cells within the puzzle. So match all of the So we're going to use query selector all method. This is going to grab all the TDs. And then we're going to store it in all cells variable. So the way we do this is we're going to use query selector method, and obviously we have declared our all cells variable here. We're going to use the query selector all method to select all the TDs in the grid and put it in the all cells variable. So we have already declared the variable there. It's a global variable. And then we're going to just use that variable on the left side to hold the results that we get after browser executes the query selector all method. So we're going to call all cells. Actually, let me go with a single line comment here. So, all cells. Now this is a variable that I'm referring to that we already declared. So all cells equal to, I'm going to actually get document. So we're going to call this one using document dot query selector all, and then you're going to pass in what selector that you want to retrieve. So I want to retrieve there is a table tag inside the HTML. Do we have that? Actually, we are calculating. We are actually having a table tag show up inside my draw grid, looks like, right? So I already have, there's already, where did it go? Yeah. So basically we have a table tag inside my draw Hitorian function. So we're gonna select this particular ID. So table tag ID equal to Hitori grid. So I'm gonna select, so inside this ID, give me all the TDs, right? So it's gonna count how many they are, and then it's gonna give me a number there. So document dot, so I'm gonna use query selector all method. And then I'm going to pass in this selector. So the selector is the table tag along with the ID. ID is indicated by pound sign. ID called story grid. Right? That's the ID name. So inside this, I wanted to capture all of them. And then I don't want all, I just want the TDs. So you need to give a space there and then a TD. So I just want to grab all the TD cells, put it into this all cells variable, okay? And this TD is not all the TDs in the entire web page, but in the table, in this particular ID, I want to grab the TDs, okay? So when that happens, our variable will have all the TDs in number in there, and you're going to set up the initial color for each of these cells to white, and then change the pictures accordingly. So let us set the initial color of each cell to white color to begin with. Right now, when we loaded it, we had the pictures, right? So, and the way we do that, since we need to set it for all cells, we need to use a loop and then let the loop go through all the TDs, and then we'll have the style color change there. So let's use a for loop where I equal to 0, I less than, how far I want it to go? I want it to go as big as this cell's is, meaning if the cell has, let's say, 10 TDs, then my loop should go all the 10 TDs there, right? So I'm going to use the built-in length function to capture the maximum number through which I want the loop to run. And at every iteration, I want to increment it one at a time. So that's I++. So all cells dot length I++, and then here, so for every index number, I want to change the background color. So you're going to call it like this. So all cells now is an array that goes from 0 all the way. So if you want to see how many, you can actually do either alert or console.log. So I'm going to do console. Actually, let me do alert, because if I do console.log, then I need to open the web console. But if I do alert, then I can see the results in the box. So alert, the number of, or I'll say value stored in RC, or number of TDs.
You typed alter instead of alert.
Yeah. Thank you for catching it. I'm going to change it. So alert is a method. Alert. Yeah. So this will give me, this is going to give me a box with that value, because you can actually debug this way to see what's stored in there, and then you can actually figure out. Actually, I want to go with the length, because in JavaScript, everything is an object. So it's going to give me in a JSON notation. It's going to give me the object value, but this should give me integer number. All right, so I'm going to loop to my array. And then when it happens, I want to change background color. So the way we do that in JavaScript is we're going to use the style object dot property name, which is background color. Again, spelling, we want to double check. Background color is a property name. And what's the color that I want to change it to? White. Okay. And then this is a background color. I also need to change the cell color too, right? Yeah. Font color, I want to put it to black. And then border radius, I want to set it to 0. So let us do that. So same way, but we're going to use a different property. Background color is a property for background color, but for text color, I'm going to just say color here, right? And then font color is done by a color property in CSS. And style is the object that we're going to call upon inside the JavaScript. So black color is the font color, and then border radius. So again, same thing, style dot border radius. You can copy paste the property name if you want to, or type it. Actually, there is no minus, so property name in JavaScript is border radius like that without the spaces, and we want to set that one to 0. Okay, and we are doing this for every cell in my table. Change the background color to begin with white, font color to black, meaning the numbers will be displayed in black color, and then border radius will be 0. The 1, 2, 3 numbers, those will be displayed in black, and then wherever we have a picture there, it's going to display white there. This is the initial cell setup. And then when a mouse event occurs, like I want to remove a number, when I click on the numbers, I want it to display different styling. So let us do that. So this is the initial color for the grid. So then when an event occurs, I want to change it. So change the color with each mouse down. Now mouse has mouse up, mouse down, right? These are the events. Mouse up meaning when I release my mouse, mouse down meaning when I click on it. So we're going to do this one for mouse down event. So when mouse down happens, so first we need to add the listener. So all cells should we do this inside the for loop? Yes, we should do this inside the for loop. So let us put this comment inside the for loop, and oops. So we're gonna again use my all cells of I. Time for a break. We already passed the break, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't look at the clock. I'm very sorry. If you want to take a break, I can take a break after finishing up this part loop.
So all this is, even with the mouse down event, it just goes in the same for loop as the initial setup?
Correct. So this basically initial colors, but then when mouse event occurs, then we want it to change the colors. So add event listener, add event listener, and the event that we are adding here is mouse down.
That listener?
And then this is another way to write a JavaScript function. We're gonna call, this is like a, we are not naming it any, but we are calling it as a function on an event. And you need to pay attention here for a minute. We'll finish this for loop and then we'll take a break, okay? You can either do this way, or you can move the function E to the new line, but you will notice here, now add event listener, this is the event name, and then in the second parameter is a function by itself. And this function does not have any name, but since we use the function keyword, not function. So this is a function. So I'm passing in as a function as a parameter to this add event listener. So the code that I'm gonna write here will go
Should we
Instead,
capitalize the D and mouse down? I
no,
know
no, all the events are all lowercase, just like on click, on load,
Okay. Okay.
just like that.
Okay.
So notice how I'm writing. So inside the parameter, I'm actually defining my function here, and this is only possible in JavaScript. Okay, not any other programming language support this. So the first thing that we want to do when mouse down happens is set the background color of the keyboard key. Set the background color based on the keyboard key. Now we can use the mouse to play the puzzle, or we can also use the keyboard to play the puzzle. So we're actually defining two types of events here. Mouse down is basically when you use a mouse, and then here for keyboard we're gonna actually look for the keys shift key. Okay, so if I ever to use keyboard, and if my event handler recognizes that, and if that key is a shift key, then I'm actually putting the same colors as here, but then this one for keyboard event. So then I'm going to say e.target dot style dot background color. I'm going to copy this so I don't do a spelling error. So instead of going with the here we're actually defining a code for keyboard, and I need 3: background color, font color, and border radius. So I'm going to change the property name, style.color to black, and then border radius here. I'm going to copy this so I don't do spelling error. Okay, and this one if I use the shift key. And else if alt key, if I have a else if alt key, if I press in the alt key, then you can do else if here. Else if, yeah, like that. Then I want to actually again look for alt key as well. So e dot alt key. Now these can need to be uppercase because these are built-in properties in JavaScript. Again, same thing, black, white. Otherwise, I'm going to actually display a different color. So I'm going to just copy these same 3 properties here, put it under alt key.
Question.
Yeah.
Would the zeros be in quotes or no for the border radius?
We can put it in quotes.
Okay.
Oops. Quotes. Yeah, for some reason, if you are doing these stylings in JavaScript, it wants the quotes. Good.
I thought.
Yeah. But if you were to do it in CSS, we don't put the quotes for numbers, right? So, shift key, we'll put white. But if you have an alt key, let's make the background color to black here. And then this one as a white, just to differentiate different keys. Border radius is still the same. So white, block, 0, block, white, 0. And then if shift key is not there, alt key is not there, any other key, we're going to give them different values. And notice here, I'm writing this function inside this parent, so you need to keep this one in mind, okay? So I'm going to copy the same 3 properties here, but I'll just change the color values. So for background color, let us use RGB values. So RGB function. Basically, we are working with this one right here. So RGB of I want 101, comma 101, comma 101. Again, that's in quotations. And then color, we can leave it white. And then border radius, let us put it 50% here instead of 0. This is if nothing, if no alt key, no shift key. That's what we want to get at. And lastly, we also need to do, this is a mouse down event. We also need to do mouse over, but we'll do that after a break. So let us finish this, prevent the default action of selecting a table text. So we need to prevent that, avoid any, so this step. So how do we prevent the default action? Default action, selecting table text. So we do event e dot prevent default. We only want it to do the events that we are defining here, but if anything other than that, we want to prevent the default event by calling a prevent default, again built-in method. And we want to end this function like that with a semicolon. We haven't finished yet. We're going to add now this from here to here again, and this is in the for loop, right? So all right, so take a break, 10 minutes. So I'll see you guys at 12:55. Should I pause the video? I think I can. First share I can do, and then I need to do stop sharing or stop recording. Desktop sharing is paused. All right, so take a break. I'll see you guys at 12:55. I will not end the meeting. Don't end the meeting, all right? So we'll come back. I'm back, guys. Let me know when you're ready.
Here comes my cat. Come on, bud.
So we just have maybe 10 minutes typing and then we can test. We're almost done. We just need to define 2 more functions.
Sounds good.
All right, so I haven't changed anything. I just moved my function opening and closing just to keep track of my curly braces here. And we're still within the for loop, beginning, ending. So inside this for loop, I have one function, and we're still in that function here for the mouse down. Next, we're gonna close that. Well, wait, we still need to add. So this is the mouse down function, like basically what we want browsers to do when a mouse down event occurs, right? So if it is a shift key, we want to do this, alt key, we're going to do this. Otherwise, if it is not shift and alt, we want these colors to be displayed in our TDs, okay? So then next thing that we want to add is we want to add one more event listener, and this time for mouse over, okay? So just the format is just similar. We'll just copy this piece of code and just change only this line, 120, copy that. And then close this function here, right? Make sure you have a semicolon. So this function is beginning here, ending here, and it is in a parameter like this, okay? So you see, if you click on this, it should highlight the parentheses that is next to mouse down. And we're actually ending that statement right there like this. If you click on this curly brace, it should point to the function E, opening curly brace. So right after that, we're still within the for loop, all right? We're still within the for loop, we're still within the function. But right below this, we're gonna add one more event. And this time, we're gonna call it mouse over event. So we're asking browser to look for mouse over event. When that occurs, we are actually gonna display pictures, okay? So instead of just when mouse down occurs, we want it to display background color, font color, border radius. But when mouse over occurs, we want to display those block picture and circle picture. And we also have the eraser pictures, okay? So that's what we are coding right now. So change this mouse down to mouse over. Everything else remains same. And again, we need to call just like that function E. When this event occur, open curly brace, close curly brace, and then close parentheses, semicolon. And we're gonna write it inside of this. Now this curly brace at line 50 is for my for loop. Line 51 is for my setup puzzle function, okay? So it's still in the for loop. We're still in the for loop, okay? So all these statements are within the for loop. inside this, we're gonna write some coding here. So here also we're gonna look for shift key, alt key, otherwise we're gonna display. So when there is a shift key, we want to display eraser, and if it is alt key, then we want to display block. Otherwise, we want to display circle picture. Okay. So, and this is for the cursor. So let us do that. So if I'm gonna scroll up, so we have some room here. If event recognizes the shift key, and I think S should be lowercase, K should be uppercase, camel casing. If that's true, then my target A dot target E dot target dot style, and we want to change the cursor because mouse over happens. You need to change the arrow to this picture. You need to change the cursor style from a regular arrow to, we're going to link it here, but we're going to call URL method, and then we're going to pass in our file name for the eraser. So jpf underscore eraser.png, that's what we're going to pass in as a parameter to this URL. jpf underscore eraser. So from your arrow now becomes your mouse arrow. When you hover over those PDs, now it's gonna change your cursor to eraser style. And to this, we also need to add another attribute called as, we want to call this one as alias if you press the shift key. So we just put that with a comma, and then we're going to name this one as alias, like that. Okay, so that's the step here. So depending on whether the user is pressing a shift key or alt key or not, we are actually changing the mouse pointer cursor when you bring your mouse over the puzzle cell. So we're still doing this for the mouse over event, and let us do this one for cursor, but this time we're going to look for alt key. So I'm going to add,
Is that a comma alias or is it a period?
and comma alias should enclose within these quotations.
All right.
And then let us
Just
add,
so you know, you did misspell target in that line.
I did. I always do. Target. Thank you for that. Because we need to go back and check for those things anyway, so it's better to correct it as we go. Else if I'm gonna look for event.alt key. Alt key. When that happens, I want my cursor to change from regular arrow to the block PNG. So copy this code on line 147, put it under line 150, and we'll just change the file name. jpf underscore, we want to display block here, right? Block picture. Oops, wrong spelling. Block. So we are referring to this picture right here. jpf underscore block.png. Else, the last one, if shift is not there, alt is not there, then I want to display it as a circle. So same thing, e.target.style.
Do you want the alias as part of the other ones as well?
Good question. No, I don't want it. You're right. because it does not tell you, right? So
Gives
only
you
for the
other ones
first,
instead.
huh?
It gives you other ones instead.
Yeah.
Cell and pointer.
Yeah. Named pointed we need, right? Well, for this first one, we want alias. For the second one, we want cell. For the third one, we want pointer. Yeah. So we don't want alias, but in that place, for the second one, we want cell as a name. And then for the third one, we want pointer. And this needs to be circle. Okay. Shift key do this, Alt key do this. Otherwise, just go for a circle with a pointer. Okay. Almost done. So we just need to add. So when mouse up happens, we want to call check solution function, and this is simply easy. So we'll just, it will be a function call. So let me bring these like that, and we're still in the for loop. So this is the end of this mouse over function. Okay, so make sure you had a semicolon there, and then in here we're still in the for loop. So we're going to add one more event listener, but this time we're going to make a function call. So copy from here to here, 144, put it at 156, and this time we're going to call a function, a function that we already have, and this we're going to call it an event that happens mouse up event. I want to call the existing function that we have. It's called as check solution. Check. Well, so check solution is right here. So when mouse up happens, after I do the puzzle, I want to check for a condition. Actually, I want to use this. So this is a function definition, and this is a function call. And this function call happens when mouse up events occurs. So mouse over, basically you're asking me to do this one here. Mouse down, you're asking me to do those, right? So this is the last one. And I think we're almost done with this function, and we just need to do find errors and we'll be done. So find errors. So this is the end of a for loop, I believe. Yeah, end of a for loop. If you click on that closing at line 57, it should take you, it should highlight 115. And this is a close of the function. If I click on it, it will actually highlight the opening of that. Alright, so let us define this function. Hopefully this is not that much longer. It's only 2 things. Alright, so create a for loop that goes through all the cells in the all cells collection object. And if cell belongs to the block class, and then add a background color to this. Otherwise, if it belongs to a circles class, then add a black background, and then change the font color to red instead of. So far, what's the font color we have? Black, right? Yeah, so we're gonna change that one. But find errors. So let us do this. So again, we're gonna use the global variable that we have, and we're gonna loop through each cell to find the errors. So let's have a for loop where I equal to 0. I want I to go from 0 all the way, all cells dot length, and then I plus plus, and then open curly brace, closing curly brace. So here we're going to check for those conditions. Obviously, we're going to do that using if block. So if cell belongs to blocks class, so we're gonna check for that class name. So we're gonna call, so if all cells of I dot, we're gonna use the built-in class name property. If it is equal to blocks, and do we have class called as blocks anywhere here or in the other functions? All right, these are the rules. So it should be in our yeah, it should be right here. So there is the class called as blocks. So we are checking to see for that class name, circles class name in the JavaScript. Oops. So right here. If it is blocks and so if the background color, if we had set it to, we asked it to use this color as a background, right? So we're checking if the class name is blocks and the background color RGB. Then we also need to check for these 4 conditions, and then we want to change the font color to red. So we're going to use logical and here, and then we're also going to use logical or. I'm gonna start typing it. Well, all right, let's type it. Says, hope I don't mistype it. I dot style dot if it is equal to RGB off and on. So we also need an R condition here. So I'm gonna write that one.
I'm sorry, I just want to ask, is it RAG or is it RGB?
RGB. There is no RAG. RGB. Yeah, I do mistakes too, just like me. Blocks, and then we are checking for a background color to make sure that if it is that. So we want to use logical OR. So this is logical and logical OR in JavaScript. Happens, well, I'm messing up with my parentheses here. Give me 1 second. So that's basically for RGB, and then this is closing of if. But before I close the if, I want to add logical OR. Logical OR is this. 2 vertical lines that are, so hold the shift key down. Above your enter key, you need to press that twice to get the logical OR. And this condition, actually let me move that one to a new line so you can see better. So the last one we want to check if it belongs to circle class, but the background color, but has a background color, but has a black background, then change the font color to red. So we will copy this from all cells all the way here, excluding the R, and we're gonna put it here. And instead of blocks, this time we're gonna check for circles. Is it circles? Is it the class name? Let me see. Circles, yeah. That's the class name. Circles, and background color we're looking for is the black. So change the RGB. Oops, my mouse is acting up. Then let us add one more set of parentheses here. That means I need to add one more here at the closing. Let us also add one more set of parentheses before for this entire. So condition 1 and then all the way here. So
Professor, can I ask why we're using 3 equal signs after class name as opposed to 2?
we can use 2 too. Let's see, JavaScript supports 3 as well for logical equivalency, but let's bring it up.
Pretty sure you want 3 in JavaScript.
There is 3, but it's only in JavaScript.
Yeah.
I think it has a ternary, it has a special meaning there. Where is W3 schools? So it has a special meaning. When you do 2 equal sign, that we already know, right? So equal value and equal type. So it's not only going to check for equality of the value, it's also going to check for equality of the data type. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, thanks.
Back to coding. So it's going to check for the data type for the also. So let's use. Good question, Chris. All right, so have 2 sets for both the conditions. So if that's the case, and then our body statement is very simple, right? So our body statements for this if, right? For this if will be just one statement to change the font color to text to red. So all cells of I dot style dot color equal to red. That's it. If this condition or this, change the background color for the TD cells to red color. Okay, and then lastly, we want to have a timer. So the red color, we don't want to appear all the time. We want the color should appear only briefly for 1 second. Okay, 1 second equal to 1000 milliseconds. When we write timing information in JavaScript, it does not spell, we always need to type it in milliseconds measurement. So let us create a set timeout function. And then this timeout function, remove the hints, basically the wrong answers when the timer expires. So, and we're still, so come out of the for loop and let us define set. So we're still in the finding errors. So this is the line 67 is the end of for loop. After the end of for loop, let us define set timer function, set timeout function, timeout, and the T is uppercase, out is lowercase. And inside the parentheses, we're also going to do it like the way that we did before. The parameters is basically a function, but without the event though. Function, open curly brace, close curly brace. And This is to remove hints after 1 second. And what we want to remove here is change all cells with a red font back to white. So we want to reset this color right after every second. So when you change it, it becomes red, but we want to change it back to white again. So again, we want to do this for all the 3D cells wherever we have the red color. So I'm going to use a loop. 0 I less than same way all cells is a global variable of all cells dot length. So we want to tell the browser how far long it is to go. Incremented every iteration, and this is our last piece of code by the way. I'll be done after this. And then check to see if all cells of I dot style dot color, if it is equal to red. If it is, then change this one back to white. So all cells of I dot style dot color equal to white. And we want to have this one. So this is a function as the first parameter, and the second parameter is the 1 second one, and we define that in here milliseconds like that. And actually, let me correct that. So I want to check to see where we have. So let me see where we want to put it. So if we're starting here and here, let me move this one to 1 line. So we just have 1 line of code there. Let me move this closing back here a bit line. So for loop is beginning here. And this is the beginning of a function. That is a close of a function. And let us delete these two open curly brace and closing curly brace. And this curly brace is for the function. And then this is basically, we need to end there at semicolon and then add a comma there. I had extra set of curly braces there. So delete them. So this is the close of for loop, and this is the close of a function in the parameter, and then we're passing in. So first parameter is the function itself from here to here, and the second parameter is the 1 second, but then 1 second equal to 1000 milliseconds. So we got to put 1000 there. So browser cannot work with seconds, so it only works with milliseconds. So that's why we need to put 1000 there. And then this is the close of the function. Is it close of the function? Yeah, and then this is the close of what? I think I have an extra. I think I have an extra closing there, right? Yeah. So let us delete this extra. Actually, I want to delete this one. So now that's the close of a for loop. So I'm going to move this one down a little bit so you can see it. So I think that's it. So let us run our code and then let's see if it works.
1, 2.
So it's probably not working.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Could you condense that 1000? Could you condense all that to 1 line?
Oh, you want to do that way?
Well, I just want to see. I'm just trying to. I'm losing track of the
Parentheses.
colons. Yeah.
So this
I
is
just-
open of a function, right? And then this is a close. So how do I condense it? Actually, wait a second. I may missing a parenthesis here. No. If it helps, maybe I can move this one.
Yeah, it's not giving me any checks for anything either.
Don't worry about checks. We just need to make this one work. Condense it like this, you mean?
Like if you go down, just go down to like in front of the 1000.
In front of 1000, yeah.
Click over like 2 spaces.
Oh, like
and then condense that down to 1 line. That's all I was looking for.
like that?
One more.
One more? Okay.
Yeah. One more line.
Like that?
There we go. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So opening up if, this is closing of if, closing of for, and then closing of this function, and then closing of parameter. Yeah.
And then for some reason, I have an open enclosed brace after the 1000.
I know, I had that one too. Delete both of them.
Okay.
I'm gonna still figure out here. Let's see. So this is just a one line of piece of code, right? I'm gonna condense this one too.
Ignoring that.
And then the R to the middle. So this is the closing of for, and then closing of. And let's see. I know I might have misspelled something, but we'll. The only way we can debug is with the web developer web console on. So as you can tell, well, I don't want to do this one on a mind tap. So what I want to do is, what time do I have? I have, we stop at, does,
Yeah, I got 5 minutes.
you have 5 minutes. Okay. So you guys
Yeah,
have another class to go to, right?
Yeah, I have Manish right after this.
All right. So it's fine. Is this working for anybody?
No.
Nope.
All right. That sounds good. So let me do this then.
We all get A's.
So I'm gonna fix the issues. I'll tell you where I did wrong, and then I'll record that session and upload it. So
Okay.
you can work
All right,
with
cool.
this.
Thank you.
So yeah, and when I want to do that, so I would like to download all of these files. Do you guys know how to download all the files into one folder instead of you clicking on separately?
No clue.
No idea? Anyone
Nope.
knows?
Maybe if you right click on the sandbox part of it versus like
No, it just hides and opens.
right clicking it.
Right click? Okay.
Yeah.
Nah, it doesn't work.
Damn.
Nah.
Alright, so download them to your computer. And this is what you need to do it for the other T12 too that I did before. So I had them in my folder, fixed it, and then copy paste the code to MindTab to get the checks. But this is what, T11, right? So I'm gonna download all of my files here, because when you open web console from within MindTab, MindTab has got its own, remember we are working in web, so it has got its own code that's running behind the scenes for us. So it's hard to figure out which one you did wrong. So, but when you work within on your folder, then it's easy to troubleshoot. So for example, so you need to click one at a time to download. Don't open it. Save all the files first. Obviously, I might miss some of them. So the way I troubleshoot this is I try to add console.log or alert method right after every variable to see what data I have and accordingly fix it. So basically when I open this one, now this is not on my tab, you see. So if you open web console, loading files, yeah, I'm missing that file. So basically this console is the best place for you to figure out what you did wrong. And I know when I typing, I might have typed wrong variable names. That's definitely a possible one to fix. And I don't have all the files downloaded yet. So the downloading files is the first step. So I'll do that. So I'll actually have a separate recording to make this one work. Okay. And then I would expect you to watch that video and then fix it. Sounds good?
Okay, so don't submit anything yet as of
Nope.
now?
No.
Okay.
So do download all of these 4 files into your laptop with a folder T11 and then wait for my video.
You got it.
All right, guys, take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Yep.
Bye.
So I'm ending the meeting now. See you guys Thursday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
30.
Look for the video. All right.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.